Hello, welcome to the Flix Forum podcast, where each episode we go back and we look at a Netflix original film in the order of release. Today we have Netflix 93rd film. It's the 2018 French romantic comedy To Each Her Own, or in French, Les Goûts et les couleurs. And it's directed by Myriam Aziza, and it stars Sarah Stern, Jean-Christophe Folly, and Julian Piaton. I am Jesse, and I have stuffed up some French, but I'm here with MJ. How you doing?
I'm good, mate. I don't think that was too bad. I think Aziza, or whatever it was one that you probably should have got right.
That was one of the easy ones, and I stuffed that up. But you can tell I never studied.
You did all right.
Never studied any French in my life, so gave it a crack. All I know is that Lady Marmalade song from Moulin Rouge. That's about it.
Yeah, don't sing it, please.
I could have.
I think this is technically, I'm not going to celebrate it. This is technically our 100th recorded podcast. If you think about, this is our 93rd. Obviously, we do every Netflix film, original film in the order of release. This is the 93rd one we've done. This is 93. Plus, we've done bonus ones on To All the Boys Love Before, The Irishman, Marriage Story. Takes us to 96. Did a bonus episode after 25. We did a bonus episode after 50. We did a bonus episode after 75, which is 99. And we did a trailer. So we've actually recorded 100 episodes.
Congratulations, MJ, for working that out. It's, huge. 100. I would never have thought when we first started this off that we would have recorded 100 episodes. I would have been like, we'll have a bit of fun for a month or so and then we get sick of it.
We've done well. I mean, obviously we want to properly get to the 100th film, and you know what, I'm quite confident that we're going to get through another 7 after this, but
we will eventually. Don't know how long it'll take us, but we'll get to that 100, I think.
but I also think that we should celebrate little successes when they come.
I'm happy to celebrate that. This is 100 episodes, and us two together at least have been on all 100, so
we have.
Impressive, yeah. MJ. Good to celebrate with you. So, and thank you to anyone who's been on with us. We had, Heater did 50 plus episodes with us. We've had Simo jump on with us before, so it's nice to celebrate that with you. The two lone standers. We've done the Centurion.
We've done it. Yep. All right. And we'll get to our proper 100. We that is going to be a bigger milestone, but it's just worth mentioning. I just thought of it and thought I should bring it up.
Good. All right, and I'll have to remember when we actually hit the 100 to bring that up.
It'll be easy because you say next was the 100th Netflix film.
that was the joke. Good. All right, so we have a French film that we're going to discuss today, and we start our show with our fast flicks, where each of us give our own little summary of the film. We should get into it. So MJ, what's your summary of To Each Her
Own? Simone has to keep her homosexuality and relationship with Claire a secret from her devout Jewish family. But navigating this secret becomes even more difficult when a new guy comes on the scene who she can't seem to resist.
Yeah, you've summed that up very, very nicely, because
it's boring. Exactly it's like this is the plot, but all right, I'll out for this one.
And it's tough because there's so much going on in this one that there's so many things you could touch on with this. So I've also gone very, very similar in identifying those similar things. So I've said, the film for this it's the process of coming out to your family intertwined with the lust for the opposite sex.
Yep.
And I think we've both watched the same film, which is a good sign.
Well, there's another one with the same name.
Yeah, so
it's not on Netflix, but there is another one.
No, so we. I'm glad because that could have been a mess. It could have been an absolute mess. But yeah,
the only difference was this one had a comma.
It does in between each and her.
Yeah.
So I tried when I did the start off. I tried to have a little pause, but I don't know if that came across. I hope it did. Okay, so we'll move on. We'll move on to the part where we sort of chat about what we could find out about this film, and I'm probably going to tee this off a little bit early. This one was a bit of a struggle to get anything, and we often find that with our foreign language films or our international films. And I don't know whether that's because of what we search for. It's not in, the native language of the film. But MJ, were you able to discover anything about this one?
I honestly couldn't find anything. Apart from reviews, and I even scoured a couple of reviews to see if anyone else had done their research and given a couple of lines on how it came to Netflix and who negotiated the deal and whether it was a Netflix original before the screenplay was written or they picked it up from somewhere else. I'm not too sure, but I couldn't find anything. I mean, the only obvious thing to comment on is It's the third Netflix original French film,
Hmm.
and we've done recently Blockbuster and I'm Not an Easy Man, and all three of them, I guess you could argue, are in the rom com category. So it's
Mm,
whether that's a popular film in France or whether Netflix just landed there every time. I'm not too sure. We've seen a lot of rom coms recently with Netflix, and
we sure
I
have.
think they probably went through this period here. What's this, mid 2018, where and I've said this a lot in the podcast that comedies and romantic comedies, should be in their real hitting zone because it's the kind of content you want to consume on the couch without much thought. So I think they doubled down on it in this period here, and that's when they got a few French films on as well. But mate, have you been able to find anything apart from that?
I'm thinking that just based on what you're saying, I'm thinking that possibly this was picked up by Netflix later because it was filmed in September 2016.
Right.
Um, and off the top of my head, I think Beasts of No Nation or Netflix original films was around that time after that time. So I can't imagine
Mm.
Netflix holding onto this for 18 months.
It's a
If they
really good
did pick it
point.
up originally, so I'm guessing that this was in the can, and Netflix picked it up for release.
That's a good
That's
one. Good pick
just a
up.
guess though, but yeah. So I'm guessing that. I found out that the working title for this one was Simone Benlulu, so
Her name.
after the main character in this film, I guess.
Okay.
The only other thing that I had a bit of a squiz, I had a look at the translations for the title of this film, and
Oh
I
yeah.
thought that this was this, and this is really scrounging to find
Yeah.
something, but I was like, okay, I saw the list of this massive list of all the different titles and different languages, and I thought, okay, let's translate a few of them to see what they actually come across as. So
Nice.
obviously in English we've got it as To Each Her Own.
Mm.
It had three other different titles across the
Okay.
world.
Yep.
So in French, so I think like Vietnam, France, countries that speak French, it was
Yep.
called Tastes and Colors, which is obviously a reference, and this probably
Mm.
spoiler alert
Oh
early,
yeah.
which
Good
was
one.
yeah, so we're going to spoil this film. So give us a pause if you don't want to know about this film. But Taste and Colors was obviously the restaurant that Simone and Wally
Mm.
we're going to set up. So
Yep.
that's not a bad title. Don't mind that title. In
Yep.
Portugal, Finland, and Greece, very similar, but the title was Colors and Flavors. So it's still got that word
Mm.
colors in it, but flavors as well. So that gives it a different sort of take on this film, I guess.
Mm.
And in Germany and Sweden, it was titled "It's Just a Matter of Taste," which again, like it's all these different titles that
I
they all
like that
work
one.
fairly okay. Yeah, they're not too bad really when you think about this film.
Yeah,
So,
for
um,
sure.
yeah, just very interesting to sort of think or have a guess about. Obviously different countries, different ways of promoting films that they've translated this just a little tad differently for different markets.
That's interesting.
Um,
I particularly like the last one, matter of taste, because there's certainly that underlying theme of, you know, I'm going to make the choices that I want to make, even though I don't quite know where those choices are going to land. Um,
mm,
but the reference to color is also an interesting one. Maybe it focuses too heavily on the race and religion factor of the
yeah,
film. Um, I know it's, yeah, as you said, the name of the restaurant they were going to open as well, but I prefer all the translation or all the non-English ones to the English title of To Each Her Own, which
mm,
it still is fine. I just think there's a little bit more. It's a little bit more clever, the other ones, and more resonant to the topics of the film.
yeah. So yeah, I just thought that was. But apart from that, it was filmed in France, released on the 24th of June 2018 on Netflix. Other
Mm.
than that, I got nothing else.
I
So
think you've
yeah.
done a great job there, mate. I think.
I just, I was just like, I saw it. I was like, because the French title, obviously, when I looked at it, I'm like that the couleurs or however you say colors in French. I was
Mm,
like that's not in the English title, so it just made me sort of want to
mm.
investigate a little bit further.
Well, I
Yeah,
appreciate your investigative nature because otherwise this segment would have been gone 5 minutes ago. So well done. Um, but yeah, this is just a really, really small film.
good. All right, well, let's talk about. We can probably relate some small statistics to the
Mm.
the consensus from critics and audiences. So, what have you been able to find out about how this was received, MJ?
Yeah, look, I think that's probably the biggest takeout is how few people have actually rated this on key film platforms. On IMDb, there's 1,250 people that have rated this, and that's sitting at a 5.2 out of 10. Real middle of the road. No one's really writing home about it. And on Letterboxd, there's only 750 ratings at an average of 2.3 out of 5. So even lower on the Letterboxd community. And I think even if you look at the graph of it, like the average, the median score is like a 2, and it really does skew to that bottom half of the bottom half of the scale. So
Yeah. Okay.
not a particularly popular film, but again, a very low amount of people have actually seen it and rated it. So it's never really got itself that sort of global recognition that I'm sure a French film on an international platform would have enjoyed.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, the Google users, when I discussed this and we've spoken about, I don't even know why I still bring this up, but I thought this one was 65%, which is really low for Google
Really
users.
low,
Usually,
yeah.
if you want to go into Google and rate the film, usually it's because you're thinking positively of it. But 65% is pretty low for this one.
Mm.
Rotten Tomatoes, it doesn't even have a percentage score. There's only 4 reviews
Oh,
from critics. They're all rotten, and the audience was at 27%, and that's
how many?
only on 29 reviews.
Yeah,
So
it's tiny, isn't it?
very, very, very low, and yeah, very tiny numbers too. So yeah, so I
Yeah,
guess maybe we could put our ratings onto each of these platforms and maybe change that percentile by a
we've
tiny
made
little
that
bit.
joke before, and I
Yeah, we
reckon
have.
it's never been more relevant than right now. This is
Correct.
small.
Yeah, very, very small. So we might as well get into the film and have a chat about it. So if you are listening to us, you may be one of the 700 people that have seen it. So thanks for checking us out. Early thoughts, MJ. What are your early thoughts on this one?
I didn't like it.
Okay.
I, I couldn't really get into the plot because it's kind of this story about her coming out that turned into a story about her infidelity that then became an exploration of whether she was straight or homosexual. And every single scene, and as every sort of 10 minutes passed, like a new issue seemed to branch out and take me in a different direction. And none of them really got resolved. The whole thing was just all over the place, and it's pretty ordinary movie in the end.
Yeah. I completely understand like exactly everything that you've said, and like I thought it was sort of okay, and I
Okay.
was sort of into it, and I didn't mind this onslaught almost of themes and ideas that you just kept they were thrown in your face almost, and
Yeah.
the I did have an issue though because I couldn't empathize with Simone whatsoever
No.
as a leading character. That was where I had a lot of issues with a lot of her
Yeah. Yeah.
decisions and her choices, and I'm just like I've already said we're going to spoil this film. That ending completely threw me, and that ending like this film for me would have been like I enjoy like I was engaged watching it, but that
Okay.
ending just like ruined most of the positive thoughts I had about this film. To be honest, like I was just like, what? Like, because I was ready. Like, I wanted to see how this was going to end out. Like, who was she going to choose? What's going to
Oh
happen?
yeah.
And then that ending happened. I was like, yeah, okay. I need to rethink this film a little bit. So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
The ending, and like I'm jumping ahead into scenes and key takeaways and every little other thing I'm probably going to mention. The ending was just awful. Like I had no. Sorry, it's my dog barking at me. I just had no time for that ending because I think, like so much of this film, um, it was explored and unresolved. Every single theme was explored, and we sort of had a look at it and thought, oh, okay, homosexuality. Let's dig into this, and then they kind of touched on the surface, and then they just ignore it and they don't resolve it, and you don't even know how they feel about homosexuality or infidelity or anything like that. And then it's the same, like you said, with the relationships that she's got with these two people. And you're like, oh, where's this going to end? What stance are we going to have on this film as to, okay, what does the director think about all these things? And the director doesn't have an opinion on all these things. And yeah,
Yeah, it's
I'm
like
going to get into it later, but yeah, I'm glad you brought that up straight away.
yeah, it's like it's yeah sits on the fence a little bit too much almost. and I didn't mind it throughout because I was like, you're just highlighting to us what's going on. You know, you're highlighting these things, highlighting these issues. But then to finish it like that, it just made me go back and think, okay, you weren't just highlighting, you just have no clue. You've got no actual opinion, which was
Yeah,
frustrating.
which is really frustrating. But with that
Mm.
said, I wasn't in it the same way you were in it, because
Yeah.
I would tell all along. It's like all of a sudden they just bring up this new point that wasn't relevant, or sorry, not that it wasn't relevant, but it's like how many issues and themes do you want to explore in a film without actually resolving the first one in the first place? And you know what? Amazing if they had brought it all together at the end, but they certainly didn't.
All right, time to talk about some characters.
Yeah.
MJ, go start us off. Who do you want to talk about?
Well, you've basically already talked about Simone briefly and covered all the main issues that I had with her as well. I similarly found it really hard to sympathise with her, um, because she just constantly made these terrible decisions, and we never see her exploring the ideas that are going through her mind, or even really properly seeking advice. I kind of wish the story was more about her confusion and dealing with those problems or issues, whatever you want to call them. But time after time, she makes these decisions that make me think, hang on, why are you doing that? There's been nothing to suggest that you should be doing that. And then again, she just goes and makes these terrible decisions, and you're like, well, I don't, you can't make your bed and not lie in it. And you just kept shooting yourself in the foot all the time. So bug you. I'm not I'm not interested in you.
Yeah, it was frustrating because like she just ran with this flow or whatever was happening without thinking, like you mentioned, about the consequences or the way it made anyone feel, and it's made her so unlikable. On top of, she was a pathological liar.
Oh
Like
yeah,
she just constantly lied, and obviously, if you have a character that lies continuously, then you know they're going to dig this pit that just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But and you expect for that to blow up in the face somehow, but the even that blow up, it just sort of continued. I don't know, like yeah, it was she was very frustrating, and
yeah.
and you
She,
didn't
she was
and
tough.
you didn't feel for her because she was betraying every character on the
Yeah.
screen the whole
Feel,
way, like right up to the final scene where like you can see how much hurt she's causing her family, and I don't know. It
no,
was
you're right
very
though, because
frustrating.
the reasons that there was difficulties in her life were her own problems, and I get that she's going through these difficult, confusing times about whether she's gay or whether she's straight, but she's going about it in such a bad way that she's burning bridges and hurting people as she goes about it, rather than actually trying to get to the bottom of how she's feeling and why she's feeling that way. And they didn't even bother trying to show that.
No, and that the yeah the conclusion to the film doesn't resolve any of that, which makes it even more frustrating, I guess.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Talk about I think we'll talk about Wally next, or Wally.
yeah.
How do you say
Wally, yeah,
Wally? Wally.
Wally, I think.
His family and friends to him were everything. Yeah, so that was the sort of depth of him that I saw, and
Mm.
he feels poorly done by society because of his skin color, and but I never really knew if I understood his true intentions. Like, was he just using Simone for being able to help him start this restaurant, and that's sort of how I felt. But then he comes back at the end, but I don't know. Again, it's a confusing character that makes it
Yeah,
difficult to understand who they are because you don't actually know what his role in this whole thing is, and yeah,
yeah. I definitely don't think it had anything to do with the restaurant, because I think when they first hooked up, they hadn't even mentioned the restaurant really.
true.
And what
But
I
there,
had trouble with, sorry, go.
I was just gonna say, but there was like these comments throughout about oh, you're just another white girl to him and things like that. So that
Yeah,
sort
yeah.
of put back in the back of your mind that does he actually care about her?
Yeah, and I just still didn't even really know, even though he showed up at the end. But that whole
Yeah.
end was a dog's breakfast anyway. But um, I had my issue with him was because they actually kind of set him up as pretty sleazy, and they show that he's quite vindictive, and the jealousy that he has is bordering on childish, really. But they also set him up as this beacon of desire for Simone. Like, she cannot shake this feeling for Wally, and I've just watched that going, why? What about him? Like, every time something goes a little bit wrong, he goes to water, and he's rude and cruel about it. So again, just these characters and their connections just didn't make any sense to me. So it just doesn't
Mm.
work.
I found him probably the most physically attractive person in this film. So from that point of view, I can see her
Yeah,
desires physically for him. But yeah, I completely agree with you. Like I don't see any other traits that showed that he
that
was actually
made her like, I
yeah,
cannot get over this guy. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Who do you want to talk about next?
I went to about Claire because I really liked Claire. Um,
Mm,
I think she was just a good person because I liked her patience with Simone in coming out to her family, and I liked her care and support that she showed, and her real genuine painful reaction that she had to being cheated on. And I because I didn't really like Simone, I didn't really want them to get back together. Like
yeah.
I,
Yep.
I appreciate everything Claire did, and I kind of wish there was a little storyline they had chucked in of her moving on.
Yeah, I agree with you because I was completely happy that she was able to stand her ground and,
Yeah.
told Simone multiple times, like, I'm not ready to reconcile with you. I'm not ready to forgive you. You're not welcome in this space. And,
Mm.
you know, um, she put everything into Simone, even
Oh yeah.
though she got treated pretty poorly, but sorry, she did. She got treated very poorly by her. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, I agree. She was probably one of the characters that you wanted to sort of cheer for out of some of these other
Yeah.
characters who you couldn't see any redeeming qualities in.
I also appreciate her desire to get back with Simone. I mean, I think that's a nice. That was a nice call to not completely let them shut that away. I'm being petty when I say I would have liked to see her move on because I liked her and didn't
Mm,
like Simone. Like that's a very real response, right?
mm,
When you get cheated on, the idea of being completely betrayed and completely broken, but the feelings of love that you've had for that person over in this situation 3 years don't just go away, and she couldn't quite get over that, and I like that and I appreciate that. She's the only character that felt quite real to me.
yeah, I think there's a line where there's like an older sort of lesbian character
Yeah,
sitting there with Simone, and I think her line was like, when you've loved someone, you can't suddenly hate them, and that's exactly
yeah,
how you'd put her relationship with Simone.
good pickup.
Hmm. All right. Other characters. Who else? Are there any others? Any of the side characters that you want to talk about?
The only one I would mention, that I'm happy to talk about the others, but the only one I've got anything to say about is Geraldine,
Hmm.
her friend. I thought she was fun, but they definitely just needed that friend outside of her and Claire's friendship group to allow this kind of Wally side of her life to take place. And I kind of liked Geraldine in that sense that she was outside of the bubble of her other friends, and she was kind of fun and cool and sort of the sort of friend that you would want.
Yeah, I thought she was a fun character, and I wanted her to do well with Eric. So I was happy when they got back
Yeah,
together. But that lead up to them getting back together, like the the grieving and the pain that she was going through, like that made me like her less. To be honest, like I was just like it was just too full on, and I
well,
don't know
that was
whether that's
less. Yeah, that was less a character thing for me than a story thing. When we've
because.
been talking about these 5 or 6 different storylines in this movie, and then when we've got 10 minutes to go, all the focus is on her and Eric. And I'm like, I like you, but I don't care about this. There's so many other things I want you to resolve. Don't go throwing this in my face and paying attention to this when you've got other things to do. But no, they just wasted their time on that for about 10 minutes.
Yeah, and I'd just touch on Simone's dad and mum. I think
Yeah,
Norbert and Noel. They were
yep,
just painful. They didn't add anything. Just apart from like these themes they were trying to put in, like that's all they were. They were frustrating. And the same like
yeah,
with the brother, like the brother who was getting married. I think it was David.
David, yeah.
It was just and it's with a lot of these characters, he was just a stereotype. There were so many stereotypes in this that he wanted to keep the religious values and the tradition and with marriage and those types of things, and it was just like each character had to represent some kind of stereotype of what's going on. So yeah,
Yeah, I think there was a little bit more to the mum and dad that I never quite put my finger on, but and maybe that's because they weren't fully explored. But the idea of the mum doing the singing classes with her gay brother's partner, even though they'd kind of disowned him, and the dad like basically faking those faints that he does,
mm,
like I don't know. I was confused with the dad who basically they said they disowned the brother for being gay, but he was like at everything, and they didn't really treat him badly or anything. It's almost
True.
like it was this surface feeling that this family had, and the perception of it, but deep down they kind of still love their family. But I also don't know if I'm just overthinking that, and they hadn't really thought that through well enough to get it to land on its head, because it's unfinished in my brain, but
Yeah.
I'm kind of trying to piece the dots together.
Yeah, that definitely would have added to their characters because it's like keeping up these appearances for what the
Yeah,
community expects of them almost. But they didn't do a very good job because on the
I
other
agree.
half, you see so many negative things that they say and so many racist and so many homophobic comments and things like that. It's like they stand out more than these little subtle nice things that you may pick up on. So
Yep,
there was no balance. There was no balance at all
I agree.
with those two. All right, move on from the characters. I think
I think so.
I don't think there's any more we need to talk about.
Done a
The
good job.
director, the director, Myriam Aziza. A few shorts. I haven't seen any of her work. Um, I couldn't even see if she was doing anything further after this.
No,
That
yeah,
stood
like
out.
10 directing credits. She's only done one other feature film, so that was The Evening Dress in 2009, which I'm not familiar with, and then a few other docos and shorts. But um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
enough of a career there though.
Yeah. Okay, scene time. Time to check out some scenes that we liked and disliked, and we start off with the ones that we enjoyed. So, MJ, I hope there's something that you enjoyed in this
Yeah,
film.
yeah, there is. There
Good. All
definitely
right.
is.
What did you like?
I liked it near the beginning when they were talking about. Yeah, I think it was Simone and Claire were talking about Simone coming out to her family, and Claire was sort of like, just wait until you're ready, and her point of, I am ready. It's just them, and I really liked that because I wish the film had focused a lot more on that side of her story, and the
Mm,
idea of coming out to a highly devout Jewish family, and that being against the religion and all this kind of stuff. That was a nice thought that and at the time I kind of believed her. I am ready. It's just them that's not. So um,
mm.
I think that was a really nice and powerful line, and I think
Yep.
it probably resonates with a lot of people.
Good.
Um, I really enjoyed the drama of the scene where Simone told Claire that she cheated on her, and just that swift turn from Claire to comforting her on the bed. Just that your partner's not feeling well, and I'm going to do anything I can to make you feel good, and I just love that idea of that. And then her having the confidence in herself as soon as she realized that she'd been cheated on, just that
Yeah.
strength of character to turn that around and kick her out, and um,
And she was very
really
strong about that too. Like, yeah,
she
like
was, wasn't she?
get out. Yeah.
Really, and I just really enjoyed that. And I think Claire was, as I said, Claire was probably one of the only characters I actually really liked, and that probably was one of the main reasons too. And
Good.
then going on to that, the next thing I liked was just the way Claire handled David at the apartment when he came over. Just full respect for her because she was still grieving and she was still pissed off, and she just did a really good thing. And she said, "Look, I don't want our shit to get involved in your family and stuff like that." And I just appreciated that.
Yep. Good.
Um, and finally, I did like the scene when Simone actually came out to her family. It got ruined by her dad collapsing, and then
Yeah.
I think that was supposed to be like the comedy side of it that just didn't
Yeah.
sit well. But I think it was really emotional and powerful, and um, even just their responses, just that shock and like, oh no, it's happening again, and that was a really good scene until it got ruined.
Yeah, I agree. I think that like I could feel the stress and the tension in that scene.
Yeah,
Like of her having to walk into that room from the kitchen and then that build up. So yeah, I agree. I think that the performances in that were good until obviously, like you said, that dad sort of hit the deck.
yeah, it was a strange choice, and they obviously had it as a recurring thing, and yeah, but I
Hmm.
can I can look aside from that and
Good.
appreciate that. But that's the stuff I liked, Jesse. What about you?
Well, I thought I enjoyed the opening credits. I always enjoy some nice creative sort of credits. I thought they were bright, they were colorful, set me in the mood for like a good start to a film.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. All right, good. All right, so let's move on to what we didn't. No, I'm joking. I've got a couple more. No, I do have a couple that I liked. So I didn't mind the dinner scene with Geraldine and Eric, where there's this big deal beforehand with her and Simone talking about,
Oh yeah.
you've got to pretend that you're Jewish, blah blah blah, and she's trying so hard to be kosher, and she make sure she orders the dish without the meat or whatever it is, and she ends up ordering like a dish that's got like a sauce that's got butter in
Yeah.
it, sort of thing. So I didn't mind that. I thought that was all right.
Yep.
Um,
I'll give you that.
I liked the scene where Simone and Wally have, like, they stay in the gay brother's house and they wake up and then the mum rocks up. I thought that it was comical. I'm not going to say it was funny. I'm going to say it was
Okay.
comical. And I enjoyed that. I thought it was a cool situation to sort of see on the screen, but I didn't find
Okay.
it funny still.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, the only other one I had, which we already mentioned, was the coming out scene, which was good.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So, what are some things that you maybe not didn't enjoy as much?
So I have quite a list here. So I'm going to suggest you go first, so you
Really?
can
Are you
get
sure?
yours
Because I've
out.
got some too. I don't mind. I don't mind if you want to go, and then I'll discuss with you if you've got any that I've got. So
Okay,
go
because
for
I'm
it.
happy to. I always go first, and I've got a lot here, and I just want to. I can happy to fill in the gaps for you. But if you want me to go, and we can.
No, no. I'll fill in the gaps from you because I want to hear what
All
you've
right.
got. Because I think you liked this less than myself, so I'm interested to see
True.
what you didn't like.
All right, I'm going to go as I always do chronologically.
Yep.
I thought that Wally creeped really hard on her at that nightclub buffet, whatever it was they were at, when
Hmm.
he started dancing with her. Super creepy move. And if you wanted me to get into Wally as a character, that was a bad way to do it. So didn't
I
enjoy
thought it was
that.
done really weirdly as well. Like that whole scene, like the dancing and then the sort of caressing and
Mm,
getting close and the kiss. It was just, yeah. And as well as him being creepy, it just makes you feel awkward because of the relationship that they've tried to show you on screen that she already has with
yeah.
someone, and it just makes you feel poorly about her straight away because so early in the film she's already being unfaithful.
And not
So
to
yeah, I
mention,
agree.
I didn't miss any sort of montage where she had like 15 shots, did I? Because I just think next second she was just drunk. She had that drink.
Yeah, one drink, that was it. The punch, and then
Yeah.
she's like, "Oh, this is strong," and then it was like, yeah,
Okay,
that was
yeah. And
it.
then all of a sudden I'm like, so is she super drunk? Or anyway, I guess it didn't matter because she we did it when she
Yeah,
was sober with him anyway.
correct.
Um, this is maybe a little bit of a nitpick, but the marriage proposal scene didn't really work for me either. When she proposed to Claire,
Hmm.
I understand that she was trying to really lean into this relationship with Claire to kind of forget about what she'd done with Wally, but she just went about it in a really obscure way. And I just, at that point, I had a lot of trouble figuring Simone out. And I obviously never got to a point where I really could figure her out. And
Hmm.
this was just a really confusing part of the film for me in a really early stage.
Yeah, and just like I think probably maybe too because of the people that were sitting there in the room, that sort of made it a little bit. It wasn't as personal as it could have been, I guess.
Yeah, which I guess makes sense because she probably was pretty unsure whether she actually wanted to do it. But
Mm. Good. All
um,
right.
this is probably the biggest what the fuck scene. When that older lady that you spoke about before tried to kiss her on the couch.
Oh, what the hell?
What the
Like,
hell? What?
yeah, like you could see it coming from a mile away, but at the same time, you're like, why are you going ahead with this? Like, it was
Yeah,
just, yeah.
and why is this scene in the film? It didn't add anything to the film. If anything, the only thing about that scene was that it actually showed her contemplating what she'd done and trying to seek advice, which I was critical of her not doing enough of. But
Mm.
then they just throw that in, and that's the only thing you really remember out of that scene. It was so bizarre.
Agree. Good.
And then I started to get a bit angry in here. So, why the hell was she living with Wale, and why were they considering a business together? And how well do they know each other? It all just got really insane. Like, so he just comes down the street and is like, "Hey, how you doing?" He's, "Oh, I'm just going to a hotel. Oh, live with me. Hey, start a business with me." It's like, what the hell? Like, I feel like you guys have just met, and I also feel like I know he's been serving her at the restaurant for some
Mm.
time, but I feel like they've only just sort of started to have any kind of connection. And he's the reason that she's kicked out of home, and they're doing all. It was bizarre, man. The whole thing was insane.
Yep. Yeah, it was weird because she packed her bags, was going to move in with him, and then she doesn't like his friend, so then she goes lives with the brother, and then has him over there anyway. It just, yeah,
Mm.
it was
Their
a little bit
whole
confusing.
there was a fight scene about her being Jewish at Wiley's apartment that
Yep.
it came out of nowhere at the time, and then that's kind of when the whole race thing came into it, which hadn't really been explored too much until that scene, and that's what kind of threw me a little bit. I think if they had set that up a bit better, that scene would have made a lot more sense. But it felt like it came out of the blue.
Yeah, in reference to them not being okay with her being Jewish? Is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah?
And
Because
I'm not
yeah,
going to pretend to show that I completely understand any sort of conflict between any races or religions, but it just
mm,
watching the film, it felt strange.
yeah, yeah. It was sort of yes, a bit out there. Yeah, agree.
This I didn't like that much, but it was just weird when David was drinking that plant juice. Mainly because like who just drinks a drink that's sitting half full on someone's coffee table when you come and visit? I don't care what color it is. It's just a weird thing to do. If I'm sitting there with a glass of water at my house and you come over and say good day, you don't just finish my glass of water.
Okay, I had that for the questions later on because he picks up that glass and he makes a comment about like, but they were smiling. Like, was I wanted to believe it was something other than fruit juice or
It's what they
whatever it
pour
was.
into they were pouring into their plants. I'm assuming it
Plants, yeah.
had sort of plant feeder or something in it.
But like to me,
Um,
it was like, has it got meat in it or something? Like I don't know. The
oh
smile
yeah.
because if it's okay for them to drink and they're happy to drink it, why are they
I
smiling
don't
so
think they
much
were
about him
drinking it.
drinking it?
I think they pour it into
Okay,
the. I think
into the
they do.
cup.
But
Okay,
my qualm is with why would you even do that in the first place, regardless of what it is? You just don't
yeah,
finish
just drink a
people
random drink. Nah, yeah.
because I get the
Gross.
idea of the gag, but
Yeah,
it loses it because it's just so unnatural for it to happen that way. So
yeah, good. That was yeah. It was just it just felt weird. Like it just complete like yeah.
and I didn't
Anyway,
really
yep.
care, but I had to bring it up.
Okay,
This
good.
this
What else?
scene, if you don't have this scene, I'd be blown away. And I'm just
Okay.
gonna call it the bird call scene.
Uh, yeah, I've got it.
Do we even have to go into it? Like it was just
do,
absurd.
like, do we even need to have the scene after her asking? Like, do you guys do that a lot? Like, they've set it up saying, "Oh, you might hear some bird calls in the morning," sort of thing. It was just the whole thing was just out there. I don't know any couples, no matter what sexuality they are, that would do something like that.
And even if they
Like,
do, it added nothing to the film. It added nothing to
no.
the themes they were talking about. It was completely useless and strange, and it was
Mm,
terrible.
yep, good. I've got that. Cross it off.
Um, this is a maybe not popularly bad scene, but when Simone gets Wiley to eat pork, and then he
Mm,
says to her, "You're my new world,"
mm,
when she's probably like made him do something really taboo in his culture, and I don't know. That was a weird way to say you're my. I thought it was a weird way to react to such a pivotal sort of moment of him doing the wrong thing, but maybe it's the right thing. I don't know because it's a freedom of choice, but
mm.
I don't know. It felt off when he said "You're my new world" when he's done that.
I'll bring. This is another question that I had for you later on. Like, so that whole that meat that they brought out, which was obviously a gift from Claire earlier on,
Mm.
like it turns out to be meat. Like we find that out later in the film, and I'm glad they actually told us what it was because at the start, were they alluding to it being something else?
Dildo.
Like, were they? Yeah, were they? Is that what they were
Yeah,
alluding to?
I
Okay, all
think
right,
so.
good. I'm
Yeah.
I'm glad that wasn't just me that thought, oh, that's what it was meant to be. Because I was like, I don't know, it was weird that I'm glad, like I said, I'm glad they actually showed what it was, but at the
Mm.
same time, I wasn't expecting it to be a piece of meat.
Yeah, no, neither was I. But it actually that was quite a nice reveal because obviously she's really into her cuisine and
Hmm,
all that kind of stuff. So I didn't mind that.
okay, good, all right,
Two more. One of
good.
them we've already talked about. So how the whole breakup with Geraldine and Eric became this massive thing by the end of it when I had so many other things in my mind. I didn't care about it, but they focused too hard on it.
Yeah,
And the ending, we've spoken about it. Like
hmm,
I think one of my issues with the ending that I haven't mentioned yet is like in general, movies that resonate with you have this underlying human truth to them in one way or another. And this resolution is just so unrelatable for so many people. Um, it sort of begs the question that I enjoyed the idea of this confusion that she was going through, but to end like this is just not really doing anyone any favors. Because if you're going through these battles in your mind and you go, you know what, I'm in love with this girl, but I've got this lust for this guy, and what's she going to do? And then that happens, and you're like, well, that's not going to help me. I can't relate to that. And
hmm.
it really bothered me. It was just a massive cop out. And also, do you think the character they've set up for Claire is up for that? Do you think
Yeah,
the Claire that we got
yeah.
to know is just like, yeah, cool, good idea, I'll do this?
And that was like the whole thing where she kisses each of them in front of everyone and then riding off into the sunset.
Oh
And
my
yeah,
god,
there was no inkling whatsoever that either of these characters were going to be okay with the three of them being
this
together,
setup, yeah.
because Wally had made a mention about, in Senegal, that um, homosexuality is a really seen as a negative thing. And
Mm.
like, you could see how upset Claire was that she was with him. So how are they both standing there, both okay with what's just happened, kissed both of them, and then said, let's ride off together? I never got that from either of those characters, that was anything that either of them wanted.
Yeah,
um
exactly
that
right. And that's a
Yeah.
real dagger for the film to end like that.
Mm. Yep. Yeah, I completely agree. That ending was just literally not. And I don't know whether it was because they were trying to surprise the audience or create this,
Well, that
ending that can
worked.
be talked about. Yeah, like massive, like, yeah, okay, tick for that, but tick for not being a good ending. Like, oh
Yeah,
yeah.
it doesn't sit well with me. I think it felt very amateur. It felt very uh, just in the sense that you don't know how to finish this film. That obviously is got to be some sort of passion project because you're exploring so many important themes. But
Hmm.
didn't like it. Really didn't like it. And is Simone that desirable? Like I didn't get that vibe. You know what? I'm going to put all this aside because Simone's just an awesome person who never lies and she's got her shit together.
She treated them both like crap, so there was no
I
reason
know.
for it. Yeah. Anyway, okay.
I'm not going back there.
I got
What
a
did I
couple of
miss?
other ones.
Ah, good.
No, not that you didn't miss, but just
Nah,
that
I missed
other
them.
things that. Well, the mother, Noelle, like the whole, like, and I'm guessing it was for comedic purposes, like her hitting her face and calling her a bad mother, and
Oh
then
yeah, I didn't like that either.
seeing Simone do that as well. I was like, no, didn't like it.
Yep, yep.
That whole first scene where you get to see Wally, like, literally you knew straight away she's going to fall for him, and that just
Mm,
annoyed me. Like, there was no inkling whatsoever that she wasn't going to have some sort of interest in this guy.
yeah,
There should have been, like, I just would have appreciated some decoy or something. I don't know, it was just too blatantly obvious. um,
sure.
Another thing that, like, another repetition sort of thing is, the amount of opportunities. And I get that maybe this probably happens in real life, but trying to tell her parents multiple times that she has a girlfriend, it just happened too many times. Like, you just knew as an audience that she's going to get interrupted again. She's going
Yeah,
to, that, and it just was frustrating, seeing that too many times. But I
yeah.
get that possibly that's realism.
But also the idea of the jokes being done and that kind
Done.
of
Yeah.
stuff as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um, there's a scene where Simone's talking about, Wally didn't pick that she was a lesbian or whatever, and she makes all these, like, stereotypical comments, like, I watch Ellen, so I must be gay. Like, I like Alan. Like, come on, don't annoy me. I have an Alan T-shirt that I should have worn for this podcast.
I
The
don't mind
the
Alan. I don't watch a lot of
uh,
it because I don't even know when it's on. But yeah, I think
yeah,
Alan's cool.
back in the days at uni when I was home at lunchtime, that was so yeah, used to love watching Ellen. I've only
Yeah, I
got
think
one
she's
other
great.
thing. She's good. The only other thing I've got is towards the end where Simone goes into the kitchen at this restaurant. She has a session with Wally, walks back out, and then Claire's walking towards the restaurant, and then just has a session with her out on the street as well. It just wasn't believable one little bit, and I was like, how as a person, how can you do this?
Mm. Yeah, she's a
Yeah,
bad
and
person,
yeah,
wasn't she?
she was a bad person, yeah, and
What about
it
his
was just
reaction as well, though? You know
yeah,
what?
he's
Screw
like,
you. I'm going to go get
yeah,
married.
to an arranged marriage that I have no interest in anyway.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Talking about it, even, yeah, it actually makes it all worse.
See, I didn't like watching it. I didn't hate it. So yeah, I don't know. This is
I
a
walked
weird
out
one.
of this film pretty mad.
Okay,
Yeah,
I did too at the end, because that ending made me mad.
yeah. That could have ended as
um,
well.
prior to the ending, I was on board. All right.
Yeah, okay.
Uh, Themes, ideas in this film. There were lots of things they were trying to explore. Probably didn't explore them very well, but there's probably a list of things that we can talk about in this. And I think
Well,
looking
I
at the
think that's the
Wikipedia
problem, though.
page,
It's a list. It's a list
list,
that
yeah.
normally we'll pick out a couple and we'll talk about in depth about why and how they did it. And but honestly, this is a problem with the film, is that it's a
Hmm.
list because they just touch them all, right?
Yeah, did you, like, at the top of Wikipedia? There's not much on the page, and
Mm.
literally it goes: "This film explores family, religion, race, gender, sexual orientation, nationality, and other
Oh
prejudices
right,
through
no,
comedy."
I didn't even see that.
That was the
But yeah,
that was the
that's
top line on Wikipedia, and I was like, "Whoa, it's a big list."
And then that's I honestly think that's where they got a little bit of it wrong.
Hmm.
Because I just don't know where they stand on all of them. It's almost like they're saying, "Hey, all these things exist," and then
Hmm.
stopped. I was like, okay,
Yeah, like I mean, like you get the race thing through, and like I was really disgusted with the way that her mother like sort of acted when they've got that sort of housekeeper or maid, and she opens the windows. Like I just
yeah,
thought, like, and the whole idea of no one lending money to people because of their skin color. It was
mm.
just
Oh
these
yeah,
little things throughout that. I'm sure that these are everyday situations that you see in France. So I'm not trying to say that they're not important to highlight and film for a bigger audience, but it's just like these little touches. They don't explore it. They don't explain like whether characters think that it's negative. It's just
and
like we'll
that's the
put it in there
idea, right?
and then we'll move on. Yeah.
Did all these people actually get their bank loans? Like she mentioned that they can get this certain loan because of the way they've got this, and so does that mean everyone got their bank loan? But no, then she got fired. So then what does
Yeah.
that mean? Like it definitely highlighted some of the wrong things and it made it look silly, and I can appreciate that.
Mm,
But I kind of also don't understand where they all ended, where they all got to because of all this.
mm. The the only other thing, like apart from that list of things, I guess, is this idea of confusion too, and like not just
Yep,
confusion with Simone's sexuality, but also with where she stands in her community or her family sort of like structure. Um,
yep,
and like I mean, even towards the end, she doesn't make a choice. She still wants the best of both worlds. So that confusion's
yeah.
still there. I guess she does stand up to her family. But yeah, the other side of
No,
things,
but
she
I think confusion is probably one of the biggest things you can take out of this film,
take
and
this, yeah.
you get almost to the point of watching this film, you get a bit confused. So they've really gone hard on it.
Done a
So
good job. um, and there's a little bit about temptation too, like not just with sex, but also with food and that temptation of eating these things that you're not supposed to eat, as well as
yeah,
having these relationships or these flings that you're not supposed to have too.
yeah, good
So
one.
yeah, that's all I've got
Yeah,
for
I
that.
agree with that. That's a really good one.
Yeah. Okay, we'll keep moving.
Keep moving.
All right, what did you take away from this one then?
Well, we kind of just spoke about it then. The thing that I would take away is that this film was just trying to do too much, and in the end, we finished with what felt like, as I said, a complete dog's breakfast of a finale that
Mm,
more or less failed to do justice in any of the themes it was talking about. And that's when I walked out of this film, when I walked out of watching it, the first thing when my wife said, "How was it?" Like that's kind of what I said to her. Like this is what happened in this film, and by the end of it, I explained the ending to her. I'm like, so she goes with the guy and this girl, and they all end up together. Like it's that's the thing that sticks in my head that this film had an atrocious ending.
mm. Yeah, I've got exactly the same thing, just in different words. Like I felt like it had good intentions, but it tries too much, and I can't remember the last time that I was so disappointed in the ending of a film. Like
Yeah,
that ending, literally, like yeah, I was just like, what the? Like I just yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
I'm very very similar. All right, IMDb time. Did you jump on IMDb to check anyone out in this one?
No, I didn't for this one.
No, I I didn't get on IMDb. I did a Google search though, so I'm going to
Oh yeah,
put this in here anyway because
yeah.
I wanted to look up what the mezuzah was. So the brother David comes over and
Ah, yeah,
he
yeah. Puts it
talks
on the
about the
wall. Yeah.
mezuzah, yeah. And when he first talks about it, I was like, I don't know what that is. So I just looked up, that it's this piece of parchment in this decorative sort of case with the verses of the Torah, and then obviously later on in the film that you get a bit more explanation of what that is, and you see him nailing it on the door. But I
Mm.
looked that up early on just because I wanted that context of what that was.
Do you know why he puts it on the door though? It's obviously got something to do with the fact that he's getting married soon, or is it just because they always have it on the door
Um, I think isn't it you're supposed to kiss it on your way into the house,
every time?
like
Okay,
or
yeah,
kiss your hand on the way into the house. I
yeah.
think I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I'm not very. I've watched I did watch that Unorthodox show on Netflix
Oh yeah,
recently, and that covers a lot of this sort of stuff as well. But yeah, I just wanted to look that up. I thought that was yeah.
yeah. Okay, good one. I like that. I appreciate you doing that.
All right, question time. What have you got? Anything left that you want to ask me about this one? I've
I
already
got a
put a couple of mine in
couple.
already, so good. All right, let's go.
Um, have you ever had anybody sing "Happy Anniversary" to you instead of "Happy Birthday" to you?
Yeah, the translation on that one was interesting, wasn't it?
But it was their anniversary. They were
It
just
was.
singing "Happy Anniversary" to you. I've just never heard that
True. Yeah.
before.
Nah, I haven't either. And just talking about songs in this one, it sort of frustrated me that at the end when the mother does that song, there were no subtitles on what the lyrics were.
Oh
I
yeah, I
would,
did.
I would
That
have,
was
I
in
would have,
Yiddish as well, though.
yeah,
But
I know it's
Yiddish
in
is
Yiddish, but
even
I would
maybe
have
no
appreciated
one.
seeing what she was singing. Like it would have been nice. I'm sure it would have been.
Good
Maybe it would
point.
have made the ending not feel as poor if it was something nice that she was saying
Oh, gee, she'd have
about
to
her
say
son.
something pretty amazing.
Yeah, true. Good. All
I
right,
will
what else you
accept
got?
my daughter if she goes away with one guy and one girl on a motorbike.
It could have been a love story to both her kids that not what they want them to be. Could have been a nice
Uh,
ending.
oh, I don't know.
Uh,
Yeah, this one annoyed me. Surely Eric would have seen photos of Simone before their blind date because she matched with him on that website and she was looking at photos of him.
that is a very good point. But she never created the account, so did the brother have the ability to put
But
photos
he
of her
said I
up?
created it because she goes, I'm getting all these hits. And he goes, yeah, I made an account for you.
Yeah, good point. He should have
So
known
when
what she looked
I,
like.
I actually thought I would have appreciated that when she walked in and like, you got to do this, you got to do that. And then he gets in and he's like, yeah, that's not you. I thought that's what was going to happen. I would have liked it.
That would have been a
Uh,
laugh.
yeah.
Which was lacking in this one.
My last question to you is there was a quote that said he loves old films. He's watched Titanic 3 times.
Three times. Yeah.
Are we at a point that Titanic is an old film? I don't know it's 22, 23 years old, but is Titanic an old film? Are we doing that?
Yeah, no, I probably wouldn't. Yeah, I probably wouldn't put that in yet. As I think the '80s are still sort of where you'd say, oh, maybe they're
Yeah,
pushing like an old
maybe
film.
old, yeah, but okay, good. That didn't
Yeah,
sit
no,
very
good
well
point.
with me.
Yeah, Titanic's not that old. Yeah,
Yeah.
'97. I remember. Yeah,
That's all.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
not that old. It's not that old. Okay. Okay. So this one's based on the title. So what the title is to each her own.
Yep.
So that's like a saying, obviously, where everyone has
Yep.
a right to have different preferences or make different choices. So that was the title for this film.
Hmm.
But does Simone have the right to those choices when she hurt so many people along the way? I feel like that she doesn't have that right. I feel like that should be taken away from her. So the title's shit.
Okay. It's a good question. Okay, let me just try and capture my thoughts
Sorry,
here.
yeah, I know it's very wordy, and but I'm just like that title frustrates me because yes, everyone has the right to to have their choices, but I don't think her choices. She shouldn't be able to have those choices when
That's the
she
point.
like yeah.
Because she makes the wrong choices. She makes the choices that hurt other people. I think she has the right to make her choices, but she needs to accept the ramifications of those choices, and she doesn't really do that. She has this expectation that even though she's making choices that she knows will hurt people,
Hmm,
she doesn't accept the fact that maybe she might lose them.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
good. I like it. Yeah, yeah.
Because I
And,
get it.
and
She's allowed to
yeah.
eat meat. She's allowed to marry and sleep with whoever she wants. But she
Mm,
needs to understand that her family isn't going to like it when she does that, or her
mm.
girlfriend's not going to stay with her when she does that. But she can do it.
Yeah, but she's got to be able to deal with those consequences, and she doesn't do
Exactly.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't.
Good. Okay, one more. So the end of the film, and this is me just thinking. So is she bisexual? And if so, that's okay. But the end of the film, like if that was the whole process of the film was her learning that she's a bisexual, but it turns into bigamy. Like so, it really confused me. Like what. I thought that the
Mm,
story at the start to me, one of the opening lines before we get the title shot is, "I'm going to come out to my family,"
mm.
and she does that. So to me, that's the story. But then from the story, it goes into it's okay to have two partners. I, and I
Well,
don't
that's
expect an answer. It's just me thinking thoughts, I guess. Like,
and I don't necessarily. I've struggled to get any kind of concrete conclusion out of it. Is she bisexual or well? Look, I think she certainly is bisexual
yeah,
to an extent. But also, is bigamy a bad thing? I don't know. Like, is
yeah,
that what it's trying to say? That if you want to live your life like this, you can live it. And
yeah,
I just think so much of it didn't work for me to have any clear grasp on. Oh,
yeah.
what a strong message! Whether I agree with it or don't agree with it, I get the message. And this film didn't get to that point with me. So I'm not going to give it the credit of saying that's what they were doing.
Good. Okay, I'm ready to move on to finish this one up. I think I
Yeah.
can't believe we've actually been able to talk for nearly an hour on this one. So
I
good
got
job,
more
MJ.
mad talking about this than I thought I would.
Yeah, it's
Talking
revved me
about
up a
it
little
made
bit
me
too.
dislike it more.
Yep, same, man. I'm looking at what I'm going to give it as. So we give the films a rating out of 5 here, and then we average it out for a Flicks Forum average. And I'm looking at mine, going, I don't know if I can stick with that. So, and MJ, fill me in. What are you going to give this one?
For what it's worth, I pulled mine down today. I saw this movie 2 or 3 nights ago, and
Mm.
had it in my head. I knew what I was going to give it, and I pulled it down after I put some notes together. I'm going to leave it where it's at now, but I could have pulled it down even further. But it was just all over the place. Like the characters made bad decisions, and I was never really made to understand why they were making them. And with so much happening thematically, it was just difficult to get into the plot in any significant way. And as I said, the ending was memorable for all the wrong reasons.
Hmm.
It's 1.5 stars.
Okay. All right. 1.5. All right.
In my head, it
So,
was 2 before today,
yeah.
and now it's 1.5. And geez, I was thinking about pulling it down a touch more.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to do my little spiel, and then I'll work out what I'm going to give it. So
I like it. That's
oh,
exciting.
so at the start of the show, I said this is a rom com. This is a romantic comedy. So this wasn't funny, and it wasn't romantic.
Mm,
It wasn't. There
good
was
call.
there was no there was no actual romance. It was lust.
Mm.
Um, and we watched Alex Strangelove a couple of weeks ago, which literally has the same sort of ending. And that was so much better, and I really
Oh,
liked
it's
that
got a
film.
very
So
different ending. Don't put it
it's
in the
got,
same ending category.
sorry. The end of the film, the main character is bisexual, and I don't know, like this tried to cover a lot of ideas, and I didn't mind that side of the film when I was watching it, and but I can understand, I guess, that this is probably too much for some people and a turn off, and while watching it, I was intrigued to see where it was going. But then, that ending, it it completely threw me, and it sort of
Yeah.
left me with like a bit of a sour taste. And that taste has sort of almost got to potent stage as we've been talking about this film.
Mm.
I enjoyed watching it, but yeah, looking back on it, maybe I'm really worried because I started off during the film 10 minutes ago. I'm like, this, I'm going to give this 3, and then
Ooh.
the ending happened, and I'm like, okay, 2.5. And then now we're talking, and I'm like, do I need to bring it down even more? Oh, do I base it on my viewing or do I base it on our discussion, MJ? I'm stuck.
I think it's got to be a combination of all. This is
Oh,
like when
it
you're
does, doesn't it?
ordering at a restaurant and you're like, I can't decide between these 2 meals. Wait for the waiter to ask me, and I'll just do it.
Okay, I'm gonna drop it down to a 2. So I'm giving it a 2 out of 5. So
I like it.
okay, so I'm gonna work out of because I haven't worked the calculations out because I wasn't able to predict what either of us were going to give that. So
Should be
that's a
1.75.
1.75. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
good. I don't need to get the calculator out. So 1.75. That's pretty low.
Can I just check though? You said Alex Strangelove he ended up bi. Didn't he end up gay? I thought he made
Yes.
the point of like maybe I'm bi. It's like, you know what? No, I'm actually gay.
Um. Yes. Good point. I'm thinking about stuff I read and how people were complaining about.
Ah, that's right. You were. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I can't remember. I know. Yeah, I don't know. I was just thinking off the cuff there because I was trying to
yeah.
work out
That's
what I was
okay.
going to give it. Sorry,
That's
apologies. I loved.
okay.
I loved Alex Strange. I've
You
listened
were
to the episode.
padding.
It was good. Yeah, I was panicking. I was worried. Okay, good. All right. So we're on social media. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Instagram. Pop a question up there. This one we've already discussed a little bit, but I don't know if we came up with. Oh, maybe I think you did, MJ. What's the best title for this film out of all the translations?
Hmm.
So yeah, there was a couple of good ones. There was either it's just a matter of taste, colors and flavors, tastes and colors, or to each her own. So yeah,
Just a matter of taste is the one I
master of
liked.
taste. Yeah, I think that was a good one too. So that'll be up this week on our social media posts. We're back again next week for another episode, and hooray, hooray! Not a rom com. I'm
All right.
celebrating. I'm excited. We have a thriller film. 2018
Oh.
thriller, and I love thriller films, so I'm excited for this one. This
Yeah.
one is
Right.
called Caliber. It's directed
Caliber.
by Matt Palmer. It stars Jack Lowden, Martin McCann, and Tony Curran. So I think this is British. So yeah, in English, no subtitle. Well, I'll still watch it with subtitles, but no subtitles for the translation. I'm excited. I'm excited.
All right. Cool. Yeah. It's nice to have a bit of a change.
Good. All right. Well, as usual, MJ, thank you very much for coming on and having a chat and helping me decipher what I thought about this film and bring it even
Hey,
lower
that's
than
what
it
this
was.
is all about, right? Being able to actually chat through the film, and you sit there and wonder why you liked or disliked it. And I'm glad we got somewhere with it,
Do I log it on Letterboxd as a 3 and then relog it as a 2.5 and then log it as a 2?
mate. No, sometimes you can hold on to a rating and
Hold on.
think
Yeah.
about it and let it mull.
Mm, good. All right. Well, yeah. Good chat. I've enjoyed it. So thank you, and we'll see you again next week.
I look forward to it. See you, mate.